all Loki had to do was learn how to control time travel. That's it. That's what this episode set up. That's what this episode was. That's everything else that happened, just throw it out the window.
Loki was this guy who was all by himself, trying to do everything on his own. Then he meets up with,
and he's saying, Mobius, like, wouldn't you think you wouldn't just like be creepy like that when you're trying to convince someone to come join you? It's okay, I'm a friend.
I thought the backstories to all of the characters was really cool. What's her name is actually like a doctor, which makes all the sense in the world.
A lot of the reasons why superheroes become superheroes are pretty stupid.
I heard him say, if they catch us, they're gonna gut us like a fish, and I laughed so hard.
Even though I think it would be egregious, and I probably wouldn't like it at first, like the long-term effect.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Black and White Reviews. Is that real or?
It's recording.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Chuck.
I'm Lee.
That was different. I'm Will. How? Okay.
I was just trying to be weird.
When did you become
I didn't
British?
know
You succeeded. It wasn't British. I don't know what that was.
I was just.
It was
I'm
British.
tired.
I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, we're here. And I got nothing special to say except we're gonna talk about some stuff.
Loki.
Mostly Loki.
Mostly Loki.
This is season 2, episode 4, the spaghetti incident. I mean, science fiction.
Episode 5. This episode 5.
Oh, whatever. Episode 5.
The spaghetti incident. though.
Yes, the spaghetti incident. Absolutely.
So, question I have,
why they did not name it the spaghetti incident makes no sense to me.
Why they didn't play a Guns N' Roses song off of the spaghetti incident is beyond. But they chose like the most obscure Velvet Underground
song
that I can possibly think. Oh, Sweet Nothing, which I love the song. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like everybody's spaghettifying all around the place, and it's like the first thing I think of Guns N' Roses. I don't know. So
I didn't think anything of it when it came to music because I'm not a huge music person. So
yeah,
I really can't. I can't.
That's okay.
I can't say.
That's okay.
I can't say much.
Yeah.
But who's going first tonight?
I don't know.
I will.
Go ahead.
No, he will. You, Chuck.
I Chuck. I
you,
go.
Chuck.
I Chuck.
You, Chuck. You go.
First.
You go first.
I go first. I like this episode.
Oh, do you?
I did a lot.
Okay.
I'm actually really. I actually really. It's been a while since I've said this on anything Marvel or Disney Plus, but I actually really enjoy what they're doing with this so far. There was one thing I wasn't a fan of, and that was just simply how they ended it. I don't mind the cliffhanger. The one question I do have, though, is he the only one came back and everyone was already there? Did they all come back? It only showed like he kind of time slipped. He was the only one who time slipped back there, and you see Mobius already standing there. So that's where I'm kind of confused at the very, very end.
I'm confused at what you're asking. Mobius? You mean Ouroboros?
No, Mobius is standing to his left.
That was...
Or was it Ouroboros?
That was Ouroboros.
Okay. Either way, he still, whoever it was standing to his left already there.
No.
They didn't time slip back in.
No. He's the only one who's time slipping. He went back to before the loom, exploded.
Why are we still calling it time slipping? This is full on Loki can time travel.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool. I kind of like it.
Okay.
Sure. But the what I don't get is it required everyone to be there for them to go, for them, him, whoever, to go back to where before the loom blew up. But he's the only one who went back. Yet they're all the ones who got split into different time streams. So that's the only part where I'm left like
it didn't require them all to be there.
No,
it did.
Not
no,
at all.
It didn't.
Not at all.
No, the whole point about this is...
Well, he had to figure out how to control it.
Yes, that was all that happened. He learned how to control his time slipping.
That's all this episode was.
It had nothing to do with the... Yes, it was
Everything
not about
else
them
that
being
happened in
one
this
place.
episode, you could render absolutely obsolete. You did not need to do
It was
anything
like-
else. All Loki had to do was learn how to control time travel. That's it. That's what this episode set up. That's what this episode was. That's everything else that happened, just throw it out the window.
Absolutely.
Which, if that's the case, I still enjoyed it.
So
Because this is what happens in a lot of heroes, superheroes is the arc, you know, they have to figure out how to control something, they have to figure out this is just a new power. You know, Smallville did this all the time with Clark. He had to figure out how to actually use it. It's just he did it in an episode, sometimes 4. You know, in this, it was we saw this episode 1, now we're seeing it again. He's trying to figure it out, but it happens after the loom blows up. Great. So everything is gone. He has to get back prior to it. Fantastic. I like that Ouroboros, Obi, is like, he doesn't know it, but he like believes everything.
oh, he's Doug. Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic. And then the fact that Sylvie was just like, yeah, I know who you are. That part I don't fully understand, unless because she's not time slipping, but she knows what's going on. That I don't get.
Well, she was also not pulled from a branch and memory wiped and all that stuff. Like, she's been traveling herself. There's a lot of stuff that's up
So
in the
you
air.
think that she is like the travelers in the TARDIS, where because they're in the TARDIS, everything else happens. They're an anomaly.
I guess
They're kind of outside that.
I think it's how they're doing it. Again, it's all this wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff that they're not going to fully explain. They've been
already
changing their
explained it. They've already explained it. Loki
Didn't it?
Loki is a god, and nothing that happens in
And
like
she's a
the
Loki.
real exactly, and nothing that happens like affects either one of them. This has been established.
Meh. Wait, what makes Loki a god again? Wasn't he adopted? He was like some ice prince or something. What makes him a god?
But he has all those powers.
Where'd he get those powers?
Who knows?
He was adopted.
Yeah.
That's like you adopting a kid and suddenly they have your DNA. It doesn't make sense. Just because you adopted them.
I wonder if the Frost Giants could all do that.
I wonder if Odin just bestowed upon him like the gift of magic.
Maybe. Yeah, the gift of mischief.
Yeah, sure.
Like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna make you the god of mischief.
So it sounds like because all this other storyline, except for him trying to figure out how to use his, you know, ability to time slip, to the two of you, like you guys could have done without this episode because it was all pointless except for that. Am I
No.
wrong, Will?
No. Well, okay,
I'll let
ahead,
you go
Will.
first.
Go
I'll
ahead,
let you go
Flea.
before me, Lee. Go ahead. Cause
I'm pretty sure I said this like an episode or 2 ago. Is it seems like everything they've done in this season, I've just been so confused about, like, why are they trying to do something that's going against the obviously inevitable? Like, the loom has to break. We know that they're going towards a multiverse. You know, it's going to be a thing. So what is it that Loki is trying to fight against? And in this episode, they finally get to the point, which is he's just being selfish and wants what he wants because he wants it.
Yeah, but every timeline's diminishing at this point now.
Right.
Every single one of them,
All the branches. They said that all the branches are dying.
and the sacred timeline.
They said all the branches are dying. That's
the
she
thing that's the
specifically
only
said
thing
the
that
words, the branches are dying.
That's the only thing that
Go ahead.
confuses me about Sylvie is she knows that this is happening. She knows this is going to happen. She knew this episodes ago, you know,
Yeah.
and and when she's sitting there listening to the Velvet Underground, she's shocked and surprised when it actually happens. That's the only part that I really don't get. Like, what? You saw this coming? It's that this
Yeah.
shouldn't be a surprise to you at all.
So yeah, so this episode, it answers my question of, you know, well, it doesn't answer a question. It just basically goes along with what I was saying. Like, everything they're doing here is futile. So I mean, this whole thing was Loki is working with anybody he can to try to do things in his own strength, and this is like, you know, our life, trying to do things in our own strength. You know, and we realize that everything is just futile. You know, like it's futile. We can't.
Resistance is futile.
Yes, it is. All your
Mm.
base are belong to us.
Mm.
But the reality is this entire season has been like this, just like life. Trying to do things in our own strength, it won't go that way. We can fight and fight and fight, But the reality is, no matter what he's tried to do in this entire episode was get the band back together. Like, oh, that makes sense. That sounds great. And at the end, none of it mattered. It had nothing to do with people getting together. Really cool idea. I mean, Obi even says, or sorry, Doug says here, oh yeah, that's impossible, but go ahead and do it. Like, wait, nothing you just said makes sense. He goes, yeah, but I mean, if it was impossible and you did it before, then what's to say you can't do something impossible again? Okay, I guess that makes sense. That's the whole point, is like everything that we're seeing here.
I'm still here. Keep going.
Oh, good for you. All right. Everything that we're seeing here was just like for nothing. But in the end, it's not for nothing because he learned a valuable lesson. He loves his friends.
Oh.
But that was the reason why.
That was the whole point.
But that was the reason why, though, is this, which I appreciate. You think that the reason why, because his conversation with Sylvie, is because he's being selfish.
Well,
he's being selfish, but in all reality, Loki was this guy who was all by himself, trying to do everything on his own. Then he meets up with, Mobius and Obi and Sylvie and all these other characters, and he realizes that he can't do it alone.
It's more continued growth for his character.
Right.
We got it in the first episode of season 1, and now we're getting like an additional growth for him here.
Right.
Like I know I mentioned it before. There was that episode where Mobius lost it and slapped Brad in the face. And he's just like, "Are you okay? Like, you don't seem okay. It seems like you kind of lost it there. Do you want to talk about it?"
Right.
Like, it was very different for Loki, for him to make that jump where it's like he's the sensible one right now, and he seems like he genuinely cares for his friend Mobius here. And I'm like, huh, not what I expected his character to grow into, not the way that he did, especially after he started the episode and he was like full on Loki, with the shadow play and all that stuff, which was I thought was great to see again. But like, we're seeing his character become a very different character than what we saw before. Like when we first were introduced to Loki, we're like, oh, look at this little, annoying stepbrother. And then you're like, oh, he's behind all this stuff in the end and blah, blah, blah. And then he grows and then, does the whole New York thing. And then later on, and what was it? Thor 2, the one that everybody kind of forgets about, where he's like, he's good, but he's bad. And you're not really sure.
Was he in Thor 2?
Yeah, he was. He was in prison. That's when his mom died.
That's right.
All that stuff when he's got the long hair, the really long hair.
I forgot about that.
And like, when did he get a haircut? When he was running away, trying to figure out why he was time slipping at the end of season 1. That's when he got a haircut?
Sure.
Okay. Whatever. Anyway, I'm going around in circles here, but the point is, this whole episode was to show continued growth for Loki and to lead up to him being able to have a new power that he's going to use in this final season of this, or final episode of this season. And we're going to see what he's going to do with it.
Oh, is this only 6 episodes long?
Yeah, I thought it was 8, but my wife was like, oh yeah, this is what they're doing. And next week's the final episode. Like, my wife was watching it before I was, and I was annoyed because normally it's like, hey, do you want to watch an episode with me? Now she's been watching it, and I come back and like, hey, you want to watch it again so I can watch it for the first time? She loves the character and she loves the story. When we were downstairs doing our podcast on WandaVision, she was upstairs watching it.
Huh.
I didn't realize that. So it was like it was happening at the same time. Again, I always will bring it up. But in the beginning, like when Avengers first came out, my wife saw it in the theater 3 times alone. Like, that's how much she loved the first Avengers movie. And I look back at it now, I'm like, oh man, it was good, but it wasn't as good as the stuff that's come out since then. But, it's like, okay, so she definitely invested in it. But seeing this character go from who he was before to see it here, I wouldn't say it's quite Walter White, but it's definitely something that they're trying to push right now is a character development that goes from one side to the other. And we're seeing it here where now his entire point and his entire purpose is just because he misses his friends. And it's a selfish reason. And, you can make it very clear when he's over there talking to Dawn, or AKA Mobius, in his garage. And he's like, I need you to come back, Mobius. And he's saying, Mobius, like, wouldn't you think you wouldn't just like be creepy like that when you're trying to convince someone to come join you? It's okay. I'm a friend. A friend. Yeah, I'm a friend too. And he's like ready to hit him with a wrench. Like, it was.
When he pulled out that wrench, I went to one place and one place only. Fast and the Furious.
Oh, geez, I haven't watched that in forever.
when he beats him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Can't say I do.
So Will, real quick, you seem very enthusiastic about this episode. So give us you hated it. I can tell.
I hate that he can time travel. I hate that he can time travel now. Like out of nowhere, like he's time slipping, and you think it's because he's time slipping because the TVA is going amok, or he's time slipping because he was pruned, or he's time slipping because he's in this place, or he's time slipping because the loom is about to explode, and it's just all interconnected. No. They just do away with all that, and now he can full on control time travel. So Doctor Strange, okay, what's the point now moving forward with him? What's the point now going back into the MCU and like just being like wowed by all of the stones, especially like the time stone? Okay, he doesn't need the time stone. Like nobody needs the time stone. That
Time
thing
stone's
was
gone.
Yeah, but the point is like, what was the point if you are just going to develop a character that's going to be able to time travel without anything? What's the point? For what reason? For what? Why? And again, I go back to these things all the time. Whenever you do time travel, or you're going to rewrite history, or there's a resurrection, it should have to cost something. This costs nothing. He's there with his friends, and he figures out how to time travel, and then he doesn't need his friends in that moment anymore, and now he's just back before everything went amok, and now everybody's going to be alive all over again. No more spaghetti incident. All that never happened, and they're going to figure out a way out of this mess. I think it's ridiculous. It's lazy storytelling. It's lazy storytelling incarnate. It's so.
I mean, you saw in the post-credit scene where he flew around the Earth a bunch of times and just undid everything we just watched in the past few episodes, right?
Well, I mean, I have the same problem with that too. That's equally as stupid. It's equally as dumb. Like, okay, so when Gamora came back to life, it cost something because she completely lost her memory, and they have to build that whole relationship up all over again. I'm fine with things like that. Vision coming back in the stone and everything and pulling out of its skull, that cost something because it did something to Wanda and her psyche. I'm all fine with that.
Well,
what is this going
not
to
even
do?
That,
this is not going to do
a whole
anything.
different vision.
This is not going to do fine that too. This is not going to do anything but further empower Loki moving forward in the MCU. And why do we have to like create this ultimate all-powerful being that can time travel now? I linked you guys, well, I didn't link you guys an article, but I've been doing nothing but reading for the past like couple of days about like this MCU character that I had no idea about, and how Loki like evolves into the god of stories. Loki, the god of stories. Just Google that term. It's ridiculous what this character is capable of, and I don't understand why it has to be written in right now at this time. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. They could have done anything else. They could have gone off and got a variant of Timely or whomever. They could have done anything else with Mobius. They're playing with this whole thing with Victor Timely and Ouroboros about like what came first, the chicken or the egg. Why couldn't you just continue with that theme? Continue on with that storyline. You don't have to just like render all of that obsolete. Oh, now Loki can just time travel and go back and fix everything, and we have one episode left. Yay! Yeah. Those are my thoughts on what this episode did as a whole. What was the point of this entire season? The point of this entire season was Loki needs to learn how to time travel. That was the entire point of this whole show. Loki needs to learn how to time travel. It's so stupid.
Not there yet.
What do you mean we're not there yet? He did it in this episode. He did it. He did it. He actually said, I learned how to do it. I learned how to control it. Bye, everybody. And he was gone.
If he finished that whole thing with, I done it, it would have been perfect. That would have been the perfect ending.
Those are my
I understand
those are my
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. But there's a lot about this that I'm actually enjoying. I'm enjoying not fully knowing. Like, we've had a different thought every week as to where this episode, where this show is going. I like not fully knowing. I said this last week. I know that there's a lot of questions that we do have that should have been answered, and that I believe still should be. And it gets mixed in with all the questions that I'm thankful that we do have, which kind of gives you a slightly bad taste.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, with this so far, My thought process is he got introduced into the cerebral,
Yeah.
which is why he can time slip now.
Okay.
Because he went inside there, something happened to him that gave him this ability to do that. Will it last after this? Will it last after he fixes everything? It may or may not. I don't know.
Absolutely. They're not gonna go through all of this. If they do that, it's storytelling malpractice. If they just go through all of this storytelling and this character growth only to, like, in the end, take a new power away from him. That wouldn't make any sense. They're absolutely going to move forward with him being able to, like, slip in and out of timelines and travel back and forth. Like, he's just gonna be that character. Which, if they do a complete about face with the character and he's just same old bad guy, selfish Loki, like if we reverse to that, then things become incredibly interesting. Like, then that there's a cost there. Like, something has to happen with this. That's my opinion. But all in all, like, if this episode happened like 2 or 3 episodes ago, and I'm gonna kind of harp on something that Chuck usually says, if this was like a 13 or 14 episode season and this episode happened in the middle, I think I would feel differently about it. But because it's the penultimate episode, there's 1 episode left. It's like, this is a lot to, like, cram in to the second to last episode of the season. It's a lot.
We've been saying that about
wow.
we've been saying that about every single show that we've discussed.
And Marvel
It's
does.
Yeah.
Star Wars, and I mean,
Well, Disney
any
Plus,
of the streaming shows.
Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Well, Titans, we're not doing that because there's 11 to 12 episodes.
Yeah, but
They're
even
not cramming things.
Well, yeah, because we have no idea where they're going. That's why.
We don't know where this is going.
We don't know where this is going either.
We have a better idea with Titans where that's going in the season that we're in right now than we do with most of what Disney Plus puts out in 6 episodes. At least primarily with Titans, there's a underlying thread that you can see. Like, we know in the season that we're in Titans right now that the final episode is him becoming Nightwing. That has been the reason for this whole thing.
Is it the final? I mean, I don't remember.
Yeah, it's the final episode of this season.
Did you watch it?
No.
Oh, well then how do you know?
Because it's called Nightwing. The episode itself is called how do you
Cheater.
Cheater. It's all, you look at the thumbnails of the episodes and you're trying to
It's kind of hard to miss.
I thought about that. Like, where are we with Titans? Are we not doing Titans?
Yeah, next week we're going back to it.
Yeah, we're going back next week.
Like, we haven't even released an episode
in 2 weeks.
Titans. It's
2 weeks. It's been
every
2 or 3 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
It's been 2 or 3 weeks since I released an episode of Titans.
Correct. Okay, that's why I was confused. I didn't get a response on that. Was all the audio bad for the Titans ones?
One episode of Titans. The audio was a bit rough, and I'm having a hard time with it. I'm reluctant.
Gotcha.
It is what it is.
All right. Yeah, I think we're like 3 episodes behind on releasing, right? Because it was like 9, or we're up to 11. Anyway,
we turned it up to 11.
Did we?
We did.
Here you go.
We did.
Enjoy.
Wow.
Was that 11?
That was way too loud. Don't ever do that again, please.
You said you couldn't hear him. Anyway. Yeah, so I agree with you in many points, Will. Now there are let's talk about some of the things you liked about this, Will. What did you like about the episode as a whole?
I like that Sylvie sat down and threw on a Velvet Underground record called Loaded and listened to the song Oh Sweet Nothing, because it's a fantastic song. That's what I liked.
Yeah.
That whole thing I thought was really cool. Like the whole
cool.
way that everything, and even before that, when she's when she's outside and she puts her McDonald's bag up on the car, the McDonald's bag disappears. I like that. Like I thought like little small things like that. Like the whole visual of like the spaghetti effect, I thought was fantastic. Kind of blip, but not. Like you could tell what they were going for. They just didn't want to like rehash the blip, so this is the next best thing that they could do. I thought all that was really cool. I thought the backstories to all of the characters was really cool. What's her name is actually like a doctor, which makes all the sense in the world.
Willis.
Yeah, which makes all the sense in the world, because it like she was really like bothered and concerned with all of the people on the timeline who were just like dying. Like she was really overly concerned and bothered by that. So it makes all the sense in the world that she was a doctor like out there in real life. Mobius being a ATV salesman, a jet ski salesman. Sure, I guess it makes sense for him. It just, I don't know. That one was it was a little on the nose, but I mean,
well, I mean, we all knew it was gonna happen.
What's his name being an escaped convict? That was pretty funny.
That's so. The best part about that is the second time watching it, I heard him say, "If they catch us, they're gonna gut us like a fish," and I laughed so hard because remember when we were first introduced to Casey, he's like, "Quiet, quiet, or I'll gut you like a fish." What's a fish? He's like, "Why does it matter?" He's like, "Well, I want to know what I'm being threatened with before I comply." It was the funniest thing, and I fell in love with Casey immediately at that moment. I love that the first time we see him here is Frankie says that. It's amazing.
So Frank is actually the escaped convict who actually escaped from Alcatraz in like what 1960 62 when Clint Eastwood, the movie Escape from Alcatraz, like it's The Rock, like it's going down that thing, which I really like. In the first season they did the whole DB Cooper thing, and now they're doing the whole Escape from Alcatraz thing, and in both cases it's like people just vanished, and the answer for why they vanished is obviously the TVA. I think that's kind of cool. Like DB Cooper vanished without a trace from jumping out of the back of a plane, and the escaped convict
because Loki owed his brother money.
Exactly, and the escaped convicts from Alcatraz disappeared because a portal opened up and he walked through it. I just think little things like that I think are really cool. That was really, really cool. Mobius, the whole thing with Mobius, like, oh, his sons, and he got to leave because he wants to protect his sons. He bought into it way too easily, which like just tells me that he was just like really bored with his life and wanted to go off and he wanted to do something else. That's all that was. How interesting can your life possibly be if you're a jet ski salesman? Like, come on, like he just strikes me as the kind of person that just wants.
Well, he is there 6 days a week because they're closed on Sundays.
Unreal, unbelievable. But those are the things. Those are the things that I liked about the episode. The character build. I always like when they go back and they show backstory for a lot of characters and like fill in little gaps here and there. I think all that's fantastic.
So here's the question though: was this actual backstory, or was this what they were put into because it's what they were always dreaming of?
I just think that this was backstory. It makes sense for all of the characters involved.
It does.
It makes perfect sense. Their backstories make perfect sense for all of their backstory, for all of these characters. 100%. That I like.
I agree.
That aesthetic I think is fantastic. And that's where my likes end for this episode. Then they get into the whole, he can time travel. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Or the chicken or the egg? Or the chicken or the egg? Like, it's so redundant. It's so stupid, and I don't like it.
Yeah, how it happens, I don't like it when they have I agree. I don't like it when they show a time travel movie when you have no idea how the time traveling works. It makes absolutely no sense, right, Will? Like when you don't understand how time traveling works and it just makes no sense. It just really irritates you. Correct?
Well, if Loki had a button that he could push, it would have made all the sense in the world.
Crap.
Sorry.
Or a hole in the wall.
Right? Or a hole in the wall. If there was a hole in the wall, if there was some type of mechanic that Loki had to make this
timer,
possible,
guys.
Sure. But no,
timer.
It's
when
just
the door shuts.
So I'm going to use the words that you used for me a few weeks ago. I just gained a lot more respect for you because
I'm consistent.
You read into that way too easily.
I'm consistent. Listen, the problem that I have with this is I don't like it. It's just, oh, he can do it because he believes he can, or he feels a certain way. It's all eternal. There should be some type of external force that's allowing him to do this. But no, it's just there isn't. It's just it's within him. He feels like it. He believes he can. He's thinking about this time. He's thinking about these people, and boom, he's there. That's so dumb.
That's how he's learned to control it. he had it put in him when he went out into Cerebral.
We
when
don't
he
know
got-
that.
That's when it started
You
happening.
think?
We don't know
That's when
that.
it started happening. He's introduced to the all the crap that's in the loom.
Yeah.
You know, it was like you could see it like waving
The
over
temporal
him.
radiation.
No,
It's the same idea. It's the
the season
same
opened with
idea
him
as
time slipping.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, it did. The season
Yes.
opened with him time slipping, and we learned the
first
whole
episode
thing.
was about
Oh,
him.
you're
learning
right.
how
Yeah,
to
the
how
whole
to
first
not time
episode was
slip.
him time slipping, and they
I
had to
was
go
gonna
through the
say,
whole
'cause-
thing about how you have to be pruned in order for it to stop. Guess what? He was pruned, and it didn't stop. So what was the point?
I was thinking it was like that, like a Fantastic Four type scenario.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
Like he was out there, he got hit with it. That would have made sense. That would make sense.
It would have made more sense, but no,
No,
Well,
not what happened.
not
think-
at all.
you think what happened with Fantastic Four makes sense?
No,
They go through the storm, and now you can stretch as long as you can go invisible.
and be spaghettied.
You
And turn into fire.
You can flame on. You know. Come on. Come
Yeah.
on.
So
A lot of the reasons why superheroes become superheroes are pretty stupid.
hey,
I
like
agree.
radioactive spiders.
Agreed.
Spiders.
I like radioactive spiders.
Two-Face falls into a vat of acid.
No, he didn't fall into a vat of acid. That was Joker.
Joker, whatever, falls into a vat of acid.
He was already like psychotic though.
He fell into a vat of acid, and he came out. He came out okay.
Oh, we don't really know how Heath Ledger's Joker became Joker.
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do.
No, his
Yes.
father was a drinker. Is that all you know?
And he brought, took a knife. Do you know how I got these scars? That's exactly how he became psychotic. Was his dad was an
smile on
his-
that face.
his dad was an alcoholic abuser, so he just
Yeah.
No, but he changed
Thought
the
I'm-
story every single time, which makes you believe that he's just a liar,
he's
and none of those
psychotic.
stories were true.
He is my favorite Joker, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's
So that
super
was that is how I these are my thoughts and feelings. And speaking of Fantastic Four,
oh boy, yeah.
I'm gonna
Dr. Doom.
segue. I'm gonna segue into
I told you
this.
that they're trying to write him out because
But
the
they
thing is They
didn't.
just don't want to, but they didn't.
But they
they're-
didn't write him out
But they didn't yet.
yet. They're not going to. Where do you see them writing him out?
All the talks about Doctor Doom
That's
and not.
Did you
focusing
read
on
the
Kang
article?
Dynasty? No, I didn't read the article.
Well, maybe you should have before you start talking about it.
No,
I'm just saying.
I've read other articles.
Okay. So the talk was that should things go wrong with Jonathan Majors and they need to write him out, a suitable replacement would have been Von Doom.
Mm-hmm.
That is what the articles read. Not we're going to do it.
They introduced. So this is where it's
What
clear
other
they
big
don't know
bad
what
is
they're
there
doing.
right now.
Secret invasion, secret wars.
Secret Invasion.
Secret
Yeah,
Wars.
that was
He
supposed
means
to. It
Secret
was supposed
Wars.
to. It was. I said that it was supposed to lead into Secret Wars. So the thing is, they don't know where they're going with it. Is it the Kang Dynasty or is it the Secret Wars? What's their focus? No idea.
Well,
They have no idea.
zero.
They're trying to introduce all these different things, but they're not actually following a storyline. Before, it was something. It was like, we have these stones, we have these weird glowy things that mean something. And it all eventually led up to the gauntlet and the Mad Titan there, So it's like, that all made sense. Here, it's like, let's introduce like 50 different storylines, 3 different storylines, and just kind of have them all there so we can pick which one we want to do. We're losing it.
So,
I mean,
no, go ahead.
they're talking about Echo. I guess Echo they're really pushing right now. I guess that's coming out in 2024.
Yeah.
With of course, D'Onofrio reprising his role as Kingpin because he didn't get shot.
Well, I think this is going to
Or
be a
he got shot, he
prequel
didn't
to
die.
whatever built up to the Echo character.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
that I guess that makes sense. Unless they're doing
Yeah.
like a here and there.
Oh, we don't know
Type
if he's
thing.
dead or not.
Well, I
We'll
mean,
find out in Daredevil.
this is my rifle, this is my gun. I'm pretty sure we knew that he was dead at that
He,
point.
yeah, I
And
don't
we
buy into
understood.
unless you see the death happen on screen. I don't think that it happened. That's an age old trope that movies and television shows have been doing for decades at this point. Oh, he didn't die on screen. Guess what? There's a chance he might still be alive. Ha ha ha.
Yep.
That's where that is. But no, the majority of the articles I read were basically stating that should things go wrong, and should Jonathan Majors need to be written off, and should DC decide to replace him, which none have happened, and there's no indication that any of that's going to happen, a suitable replacement for a big bad of the MCU moving forward would have been Von Doom.
But they'd had to introduce Fantastic Four first.
The aerospace engineer had already been established. They could have very easily picked up that ball. The idea of the aerospace engineer had been established. They could have ran with that. And I said this when Lee and I were doing Wanda. If there was a possibility that the aerospace engineer was Reed Richards, there was an equal possibility it could have also been Von Doom, because they're both incredibly equal in terms of intelligence.
Correct. Right.
So that's they've already dropped that line. They've already left that nugget out there for fans to kind of pick up on. They could have very easily just circled back around to that and pick that back up and go, oh, here's what we can do moving forward with this. Which, I'm sorry, would make a lot more sense if you're yes, you have Victor Timely, who's like the Loom and everything, and he's a scientist and blah, 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 blah. You could very easily take him out of the storyline and insert either Richards or Doom, and they would do just as well.
Correct.
So that's where I am.
I guys during Wanda.
Yeah.
Okay.
He wasn't on that episode though.
No.
I went back and I listened to make sure you weren't a part of that conversation. You weren't in that. You in the episode where they dropped the line aerospace engineer. You weren't there. It was just Lee and I.
Yeah, when they were breaking through the force field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whatever it was called.
Yeah.
That moon rover or whatever.
Yeah. I got a friend. He's gonna build something for me, an aerospace engineer, and it's like, come on, really?
Yeah.
It's like
And
so obvious. Nowhere.
Nowhere.
But that's not the point, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up. The question is, should they just do it anyway?
I don't know.
Should they introduce Von Doom now in this? Should they
as a big bad or
yes.
as a bad guy?
Should they
It'd be
replace
amazing if
Jonathan
they
Majors? Should they replace Kang with Doom at this point?
At this point, I don't think they should, because I want to see where this goes. I can't believe I've just said that, but I kind of want to see where this goes, because they've already had 2 TV shows and 2 or 3 movies that have had him featured in it as the bad guy now. So with that, or at least 3 or 4 different shows and movies that have shown him as the bad guy. So we have to figure out where it's going now. If they just write him off, that's shame on Marvel at that point.
There's 2 things that he's been in. It's Loki and Quantumania. That's it.
So okay, so 2 TV shows and
1
and a
TV
movie.
show.
Well, 2 episodes, 2 seasons.
Okay. Yeah. The end.
Yeah, but they're
I mean, the end of the first season is.
Well, the point is they're clearly building him up to be the big bad.
Well, the big thing is the way that they ended Quantumania was like, here's 5 billion of them in a stadium.
Yeah.
And then they do this series here, and I'm just like, oh, it's gonna get nuts, and they're gonna lead into the Kang Dynasty, and then they don't.
Well, he's died really easily in everything we've seen him in, so this could just be the way they killed the easy kill off of all 5 billion of those guys.
But they were the ones who were supposed. I mean, at least He Who Remains was the one who remained. It was supposed to live.
Well, he died.
He did.
Right.
That's my point. He was supposed to, and he died. Yet all these other ones, I don't know. I don't get it. I just it all feels like they had a plan, and then when they did this season, they were like, I don't know what we're doing anymore, and they just.
Do you think going to the end of time is what made it possible to time slip?
No.
Maybe.
No.
I know when you watch a lot of when you watch Doctor Who, going to the end of time is like a big thing.
Yeah.
It's Doctor Who.
Still a big thing.
Okay, fine. If you want to say like for sci-fi, going to the end of time is like a big thing, fine. But there was nothing that happened. He just kind of like got blipped into like got blipped into this power where he can just like time slip all over the place.
Yeah,
I don't know. I
don't.
personally would not be opposed to Jonathan Majors taking the bout out or finding a way to write off the character of Kang and moving forward with Doom. Because so many problems in the MCU would be repaired if they just abandon ship. I say it. Abandon ship on the current storylines that you're trying to tell and make everything about Secret Wars. Make everything about Fantastic Four. Introduce X-Men. Just pull the trigger and get it over with. You already kind of did it. You can do it here. You could actually go back and retroactively make WandaVision make a lot more sense. Like, it would fix so many problems. And now, and one more point that I want to make, and then I'll let you go. And now that Loki can time travel, what other excuse do you really need to correct the ship? You have a character that can time travel now.
Mm-hmm.
You just use it. Even though I think it would be egregious, and I probably wouldn't like it at first, like the long-term effect of having Loki fix everything, I think would actually be beneficial. Like, it's going to be clunky. I don't think it would be pretty. I think I would have a lot of complaints about it. But long-term, even if it's just one thing, if Loki fixes everything and, like, rewrites the ship, and you go back and you retroactively make Wanda make sense, and you give, like, Strange a little bit more purpose, and you do whatever you have to do with the Kang character, and then Loki dies, and then you move forward with that, I'd be happy. I'd be incredibly happy with that. It cost something, you rewrote the ship, and you introduced characters that the MCU desperately needs right now. That's my final say.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like, do with MCU what they're doing with DC. You know,
yeah,
give it a clean slate.
Yeah, clean slate. Yeah.
Speaking of that, I kind of wanted to share. I just watched a movie last night. Speaking of Thor, Chris Hemsworth.
Oh.
Have you seen Netflix original Extraction?
I haven't seen either of them.
It's with Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
There's Extraction 2.
Did we talk about? Oh no. Keep Up talked about this.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I watched Extraction like a year and a half ago, and then Extraction 2 came out, and my wife and I watched it last night.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a 21-minute full-on action scene from a prison, onto a train, like in a prison through a 21 minutes long continuous shot. It is by far, and it is nonstop.
Yeah.
It is some of the most insane action, insane footage, insane everything that I've seen in a long time. And the movie itself was incredible. I probably wouldn't do it on the podcast only because, like, when we talk straight action, it would be this went kaboom, this went kaboom, this went bang bang, this went kaboom, and he wins.
That's the problem with doing action.
Right. Outside of that, like, it was Chris Hemsworth on almost the level of John Wick.
Okay, that's okay.
The way he was shooting, the way he was fighting, the way he was doing everything, it was one of the better movies I've seen in a long time. And I'm really shocked because it's a Netflix original. And Netflix is like one out of every 6 will be a good movie. Other 5 are kind of eh. But this was really, really, really good, and I would recommend it to either of you. It's a little over 2 hours long, but it's so worth it. And I'm actually shocked because I'm actually impressed with Chris Hemsworth, how he didn't get typecasted into the role of Thor. He actually got himself out of that as soon as possible and started doing other things. That way, he's not typecasted as Thor. Whereas someone like Tom Hiddleston will always be Loki.
Well, he's said that he wants to be Loki until he retires.
Or Anthony Daniels will always be C-3PO. That's all he plays.
Yeah,
that's all he plays.
True.
But, I will say that it's the movie itself if you haven't seen the film, I would take the time and go watch it. Will, I think you'll like it. I was actually talking with my wife this weekend. We were with some friends, and she's like, "Yeah, we watched that. It was weird because last year we went to the theaters and we watched Violent Night, and I told you about Violent Night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how we need to do that this Christmas, along with Die Hard 2. You need to watch Violent Night, and we need to go through this movie. You will have such a blast with this. I'm going to say this now. Santa Claus is over 300 years old, and he has Thor's hammer.
Okay. Okay.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Santa Claus is the superhero in this movie, and again, it's so bloody. It's so outrageously like. It wouldn't. Where did he go?
I don't
I just
know.
noticed he left. He doesn't say anything. He just
Nope.
disappears.
Bye.
He's just like, bye. Did you see him leaving?
Nope. I looked down to get a snack, and I looked back up, and he was gone.
I didn't even notice he was gone.
I say keep rolling.
We never saw that. But I told us that we're gonna do Violent Night for Christmas this year. We need to do this, Phil. Have you seen
No,
it
we're
yet?
doing Die Hard 2.
We're gonna do both.
Yeah, I've seen it.
You saw Violent
We
Night?
talked about this already.
But you saw Violent Night?
Yes, when we've talked about it.
No, we didn't.
We talked about it. We didn't not in a full on discussion, but we talked about it.
Well, I mean,
Will, you need to see
we
this
didn't
film.
talk
Like,
about it then.
Yeah, we did.
we may have like a quick 2 seconds about it. But I'm saying Will
We had
needs-
this conversation already.
Will
so
needs
it's
to
fine.
watch this movie. It's so fantastic. It is so fantastic. I will watch it again because it's just, you know how over the top. Like, remember we had this conversation a couple weeks ago about like all the horror movies from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween, and how just over the top they are.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is so over the top, violent and bloody. Like, you can tell the blood is just fake.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
Well, I mean-
it's so over the top that it's amazing. It's rated R. Of course, it's rated R. I mean, you're seeing people just they're exploding. You know, Santa Claus is just like ripping through.
It's not.
It's fantastic.
It's Die Hard meets the Santa Claus. That's what it is. Yeah.
No.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
On steroids, though.
There's steroids involved. Yeah.
Steroids are definitely.
But the thing is,
he's juicing.
yeah, but he's also like not
Okay.
like he's not like the big muscular
I'm gonna
hero and
say
everything
this.
is easy.
There is one. This doesn't give anything away because not a single death scene gives anything away in this entire movie,
Not
But
a
there
death
is
scene
a
in
part-
any action movie gives anything away. I don't care.
unless it's the final death scene.
Yeah.
But there is, in the beginning of the film, you see him opening up a candy cane and he starts sucking on it, and then towards the end of the film, you know how when you were a kid you suck on a candy cane to do one thing, and that's to make it pointy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well.
Yeah, he does that.
That's awesome. Okay.
And he just starts like shanking people with this candy cane. It's fantastic. This movie is awesome.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely talk about that in this.
Okay.
Season. But yes, we're still doing Die Hard 2. I mean, we're working our way
Oh,
through.
definitely.
Yeah, we have to work our way through the Christmas movies.
Yeah.
So as far as this, I mean, the things that I enjoyed about it, so I talked more about the theory of it, but I think the things that like little details that I picked up the second time watching it. So the first time I watched it, I was exhausted. I've had a really long, crazy week, and some weird shifts that I worked, and I came home and I'm like putting the kids to bed. My wife's like, oh, they're like, what are you gonna do? You guys going to bed? Like the kids are asking, and she's like, no, we're not going to bed. Daddy's probably not going to bed. He's probably gonna be downstairs. And I'm thinking, I'm just like, I really wanted to go to bed, but I'm like, but I have to watch Loki. Yeah, and she already watched it the night before. I'm like, I gotta watch it. So I put it on, and at the spaghetti like record store scene, I just went out. Like I remember like eyes rolling and I'm like, this is boring. Like, it's just, and it was like before like things happened, like I saw some spaghetti moving, and that's the last thing I remember. Next thing you know, my wife is standing over me, like, you need to go to bed. Like, it was like abrupt and scary. And I was like, but it's comfortable. And that's like the end of it. So next morning I woke up and watched the last 7 minutes, which is when everything happened in this episode. And I'm like, okay. And by everything I mean everything was undone. We're back to square one here. But
Speaking of that, why was he reaching for all the spaghetti?
that was just him in an attempt to be dramatic. That's what
Emotional
it was.
response.
Yeah, he's just like, no, please,
Please don't disappear.
don't
Please
go.
don't leave me. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Come back, Jack. Come back.
So,
Jack.
couple of things. My wife pointed it out, and I didn't see it until the second time watching it again, probably because I was falling asleep. Was the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man?
When he comes back,
When he
my
comes back and he's
God.
doing it too. that was actually really funny. Because I didn't see it the second time when he came back and he was actually doing exactly what he was doing behind him. Before, I thought my wife was just being really intuitive, like, look, it's just like the inflatable guy. And I'm like, oh yeah. But then when I saw him come back again, I'm like, oh no, it's literally meant to look exactly like that.
Did
So
you
I'm like,
catch
okay.
on to the? Did you guys catch on to the whole Green Lantern reenactment?
Remind me.
I caught on to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When he was doing it. Yeah.
I didn't catch that, but I did catch on to Mobius's children being like placements for Thor and Loki.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's
Yep.
green, the other one's responsible, one of them's burning stuff, the other one has to go get the other one. Like, it was very on the nose, Thor and Loki.
Right. And there was like that theory behind it where like where Mobius or Dawn or whatever was some type of variant of Odin. There was something about that that was brought up at one point, so I can see how that happens. And the kid's like, "Where'd you get those matches? Stole them."
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
way the kid responds is
Don't run
really,
with them. Don't run with them.
it's just too funny. I appreciated that. He's like, I gotta talk to you about the TVA. You mean ATV? Yeah, we got 2 of them in last week. Just the dumb stuff that was going back and forth. I still don't understand, like, why couldn't he just like cut his hair short and like, dye it or something? No, they had to put this goofy wig on Mobius, especially in this season. The first season, I could buy it. This season, it just looks like a wig. I don't understand. But anyway, the whole thing with Doug, Obi, I feel like they're just giving him tons of screen time, and I'm totally okay with it. To give Ki-Hu Kwan like all this time to be in something after Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Which
really
is really
happy to see
weird.
him
Which
get
is
that.
really weird because you were saying, "Oh, this is a one-off." Like, you full on believe that this was going to be a one-off.
We both said that.
What, his character?
Mhm.
See, episode 1, you and I both said this will be a one-off episode that he'll be in, and Will was the only one saying he'll be here all season.
I was saying it more just in disappointment. Like, if this is what it's gonna be, like, that stinks. But I'm really glad it was not, and that
Absolutely.
they kept him in.
Absolutely.
So
He's fantastic in
Mhm.
he has the biggest part in this episode outside of Loki, and I think he's amazing. So his character is like, oh, have you read the Zartan Contingent? It's such a great book. And he's like trying to sell his stuff by like sneaking it into the bookstore. Like, it won't scan. That's because he snuck it in. It's not in their inventory. And like, hey, I thought I told you to get out of here. And he goes back to this like really cool, like, what's it, like an aircraft garage or something that he's like living in and working out of. I don't know.
It's the loom.
Yeah.
When you see
Yeah.
the ceiling and you see the
Yeah.
you see the it's the
I know,
loom.
but what really is it is the point. Like,
Well,
I
there's nothing for 2 miles around.
yeah,
so.
exactly. This is just whatever.
Which is kind of
You know
creepy.
what that was? You know what that was? That was the hideout for Gene Hackman and Enemy of the
Enemy of
State.
State. But the whole back and forth when he's just like, you're basically a better version of the Tempad. Hey, let's figure out how to do that. But the whole point here, I liked a couple of the lines that he had. They gave him the best lines in the whole show, which is like, science is all about the what and how, but fiction's about the why. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's a good way to look at it. And it's like, what's the real reason why? Let's try harder and go through it. And then the whole, like, when he's testing it out, like, electrical impulses don't seem to induce time slipping. And then he's like, But I guess fight or flight doesn't do it either. He's like, it's science.
It's science.
But one thing I really did appreciate, and it's the second time in a row where this was more of a, maybe it's only me who picked this one up, because there was that line before where he's like, I didn't build it to scale or paint it, blah, 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 Back to the Future direct reference. This one was more of a situational thing, which was not a direct line or anything specific. But I really enjoy when he's talking about, hey, we got to get this group of people together. We got to put the band back together. He's like, what are you talking about? He puts all the pens in the mug and uses that as an example, that their temporal aura could match those coordinates. They could figure out where it was if they could see the temporal aura, but they need to build a temp pad. He's like, but I have no way to do it. There's no way to do it. And then he basically goes, you do now. And he hands him the guidebook, which is very much like the scene in Back to the Future where he's trying to talk to Doc back in the 50s. And he's like, we need 1.21 gigawatts. And, we need a bolt of lightning to do that. Unfortunately, we never know when or where it's going to strike. And then Marty pulls out the flyer and goes, we do now. So this was very much just like that, where he just pulls this thing out of his pocket and he goes, here's your answer. It's information from the future, and it was like, I really appreciated that, because that's just like, that's the moment where it's like, oh, something cool's going to happen here.
I appreciate I appreciate the callback, or like the reference to the bolt of lightning. And I agree with you now that you're saying it. I still don't like the chicken or the egg thing.
I know.
So it's like, come down on this one way or another. Either Timely wrote the TVA manual or Obi wrote the TVA manual. It can't be both. It can't go back and forth. It doesn't make sense.
Obi wrote the TVA manual.
He did.
Timely just designed everything because of the TVA manual, and Obi wrote the TVA manual because of everything that Timely built. That's where it gets weird. But here's the thing, though.
It didn't. Yeah, it was never the TVA manual as written by Victor Timely.
Right. Obi always wrote the manual.
But
Victor
Obi thought that Victor wrote the TVA manual, because they're standing.
No.
Yes, they did. They're standing there in a couple of episodes ago when they both want each other to sign their books.
Yeah, because he knows that he got it from. He is the original. He wrote it, and Victor Timely said, someone gave this to me. Someone dropped this off, and he knows that it came from the future, and that's where he goes, which came first, the chicken? That's when the whole thing came up. The part I don't understand about this episode is they need to build a temp pad. Because there's not one that exists.
Nope.
Right.
Except Sylvie has one.
Sylvie has some weird.
Yeah.
It's not even a temp pad. It's like a watch or something. Like you always see her just grab her wrist, and then she's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
Where did that come from?
She's always had that, but it's what's her name from Doctor Who with
Yeah.
River Song. She has the wrist one.
Right.
But if she already has it, why do they need to build another one?
Well, because she was not complying.
She wasn't there.
Yeah.
She wasn't participating. She seemed like she didn't want to be cooperative.
Because I honestly forgot all about it until the spaghetti happened, and then she's like,
Beep. See ya, and I'm like, wait, how did? Oh, she has a thing.
So
got it.
That wasn't my question about this. How did Obi know where to go?
Temporal aura.
What do you mean? How do you know?
I thought that too until
so
before the conversation.
Okay, so Loki is talking to Obi and gives him the book and says, "Here, you got to do this," and blah 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 blah, and the temporal.
And then he's gone.
And then he's gone, right? But then Obi suddenly appears right there, walks in right there at the exact spot where Loki and Mobius are having their conversation. And it's like, how did you know where to go? How did you know that this is the exact precise moment in time, in place, and coordinates that you need to be to pull this off? How did you know this?
Well, he knew that because that's how they wrote it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even better
side of that, they didn't have an answer for
when he shows up, he goes, "Wow, that was quick." And he goes, "No, it took 18 months." Well, it was more, but I had to take a break when I lost my job and my wife left me.
Right.
So what's going on now?
I'm not surprised that his wife left him if he's hanging out in the middle of nowhere, 2 miles away from everything in some abandoned hangar. I'm sorry.
Well, she left him for a dude with hot dog fingers.
Oh, great.
Yay.
Yeah, that's it. Did mustard and ketchup come out?
That's so gross. So gross.
Oh, no.
You know, out of all the disturbing scenes in that entire film, that was the most disturbing. I mean,
Hot dog
I mean
fingers.
the fight with the
yeah.
you know
With the
No,
Uh-huh.
the fight with the hot dog fingers where they're just sitting and slapping each other.
he's not talking about hot dog fingers.
I know he's not.
talking.
I'm bringing the conversation somewhere else.
Thank you.
But the two
Okay.
fights with the other things were disturbing. But with the hot dog fingers, and then they start like biting them and the ketchup, and it's like it's so. I was sitting there watching that, going, "Is this actually happening right
Oh,
now?
yeah.
Did somebody
That was
actually make?"
disgusting.
That's happening, all right.
Which means the people who were acting this, right? That was not computer generated.
Not at all.
Nope.
Not at all.
They
But
were-
there were
they were-
things that appeared
were-
to have happened that did not happen.
There were prosthetics on their fingers that were filled with stuff, and when they bit into it, ketchup and mustard.
Ketchup
came-
and mustard.
Imagine. Ugh.
So, I will say
And then he came back, and here we go.
visually, I really like the spaghetti. I like
Yes.
the record store scene was so cool when the dude walks in and then he's suddenly not there, and the guy who's working there looks up like the bell just went off and there's nobody standing here, and he's pouring the coffee into nothing, and then the coffee starts going everywhere. I'm like, whoa, like
When the record's spinning.
the
And
Yeah.
record spinning. When I liked it when like the world outside and then the glass, like everything was just splitting, not just turning into dust per se, but it was whatever material it was, the material was turning into spaghetti with its coloring and everything. I'm like, that just looked sick.
Right.
It looked so cool.
I agree.
will say the MCU
I agree with
still
this.
is- I will say the MCU is keeping up with their production,
Yes.
their storytelling.
Yeah, they haven't dropped it. I mean, they didn't baby shower it, like the Flash. Or oh man.
The only problem that I have
was
with the
so bad.
with the spaghetti scene, and this is just me. I'm not expecting either one of you to get on board with this. Lee might.
Oh, is that how
I-
I feel? Oh.
I hate with a passion when really
Hate a
good
passion.
songs are cut
Doing the same
short.
thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
I hate with a passion when really good songs are cut short.
Yeah, of course
Let's
you do.
chop out an entire section of the song and make it shorter and just like seamlessly blend things together and make pretend like they fit, but they don't fit and it just sounds wrong. Like, it bothers me.
Mm. Oh yeah, and then like how can you fall asleep if it's the first song on this record?
yeah.
That
Wasn't
happened
even in the right
quick.
place.
It
The
doesn't
needle
make
wasn't
any
even in the
sense.
right place. That bothered me too. The needle, it's like, how?
When I was
Well, it was a
watching.
Japanese pressing, right? So it might
Oh,
be different.
no, stop.
So I was watching this, and when they have the bird's eye shot of her putting the record on the player and then placing the needle,
Yeah.
my first thought was, Will is going to find an issue with this scene somehow.
that and Oh Sweet Nothing is the final song on that album, so that I had that problem too.
And that was one she played.
That was the one she played. You put the
Yeah.
needle
Just the
right at
first
the
song.
beginning. You put the needle right at the beginning of the record, whether you're on side A or side B. The song that you were going to hear is not Oh Sweet Nothing. Oh Sweet Nothing is the final track on that album.
So I was right. He found me.
Yep.
Why? Why?
Because the majority of us, like me, won't ever know.
Won't understand. If you're gonna like,
Yeah.
if you're never mind.
Titans does that really good though for the most part.
No, they
except for that
didn't.
one scene. Except for that one scene.
It was the
So
only time they
usually-
did something like that, and it was a problem then. It's a problem here.
They usually
Fix it.
focus on
Fix
the small
it.
stuff.
Fix it. Focus on the small stuff. Fix it.
Ay. Anyway.
Anywho,
Anyway.
Yep. So I'm tapped out. I think we're done with this episode of Loki. We've got one more episode of this season, and I believe this series. It seems as though that it's very unlikely they're going to go to a third series or a third season, and they're going to probably push to focusing on whatever else the story's going to be.
do you
leading
think
to.
that Loki will be back into the silver screen?
Absolutely.
I really hope so.
Absolutely.
I really enjoy his character. I liked him when previous Loki. I like him now. But obviously, Will's not gonna like him because he's got time travel now. But
What they
whatever,
need
we're gonna
is
get
for a
it.
show like this is they need like a Stephen Moffat to come back in and just write a handful of
So we need Jon
episodes.
Favreau back.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we need Moffat.
Nah.
We need
Well,
Moffat
he's
to-
not. He's not the one who. He's not the one who killed Mandalorian.
So I'm going to say this. I know that you're not a Doctor Who fan, Will, but with time travel, some of the best stuff was written with him. And there's in season 5 with Matt Smith, there's this whole storytelling that happens, and the
silence.
The silence were part of it.
Yeah.
That was the end of season 5.
That was such
beginning
a
of season
cool.
6. That was season 6.
That
though.
was so cool. As soon as you look away from them, you forget about them.
That was season 6, though.
That's nuts.
But there's episodes where he's talking to his companions, and his companion in this case is Amy, Amelia Pond, and he's talking to her, and then he's having conversation again, and you know how when the whole Loki thing happened, when he was wearing his coat and wasn't wearing his coat,
Yeah.
they do it in a way where you don't notice that with Doctor Who.
Mhm.
At the very end of the season, he's going back and he's
jumping. You're right.
and
you're
he's
right.
going back into these times where future is going back and having conversations
with them from the
with
past.
in the past.
Yeah.
But in the episode that you're watching, in episode 2,
You
when
have
this
no
happens,
idea.
You have no idea that
No.
that's what they're traveling to, and they
Yeah,
do
'cause it's later on.
such a good job with how they blend that all in, how they brought it together.
It really was awesome.
The problem that I have with Doctor Who is very simple for me. I don't like a whole lot of humor in my sci-fi. It doesn't hit for me.
Yeah.
And Doctor Who is loaded with dry British humor. It does
Yeah,
not
yeah.
do it for me
Absolutely.
at all. I can't.
Right.
I can't. It's cringe to me. I can't do
Mhm.
it. No, I'm
man.
sorry, I can't.
Because for me, I actually, since our last conversation, I started watching season 12
Ugh.
because they brought David Tennant back in, and they're supposed to do it for 3 to 4 episodes, and now he's in the whole season. I'm like,
Yeah.
I need Tennant again. Like I want the 10th Doctor again, who is now the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th Doctor, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So they've never done this before in the 60 years that they've done Doctor Who, and I mean, they attempted it with the Day of the Doctor in the movie,
Yeah.
where they brought Tom Baker. Was it Tom Baker? I think it was Tom Baker back in as the curator.
Yeah, that was
that
the Day of
Baker?
the
That was
Doctor.
Baker.
Yeah, he was the curator.
Yeah, and he's like, who knows?
Who knows?
You know? But when you have like a Stephen Moffat who wrote all of those and knows what he's doing, you
Who
need
knows?
someone like that to come into a show like this who knows how to write time travel well.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to write time travel well, it'll always get convoluted.
Mhm.
Always get convoluted. And it's way too easy to get confused. And you just need the right people to write it.
The right people.
The right people.
The right
Well, I think
people.
I think the big thing with time travel is you need to be disciplined when you're writing a time travel story. Choose
Yeah.
one type of time travel, set up your parameters, and don't go outside of those bounds. It's
Right. And that's what
Go ahead.
Right, that's what Moffat did. Is he had the beginning and he had his end goal. He already had his end goal in
Mhm.
mind, and his end goal in mind was the end of season 6. Before, when he started writing the beginning of season 5, and you're like, the end of season 5 was the midway point, and the end of season 6 was the finale of it all. And you're like, this guy thought out, and this is 22 to 24 episodes per season. He thought out 40 some odd episodes in advance and then wrote everything in the middle to make it all fit, and it was genius.
Yeah.
It was some of the best storytelling I've seen on the smaller screen in a long time was when they brought Matt Smith in and did that, and it was fantastic.
I think outside of the example that you're setting right now, I think you're always going to find that when you're talking about television, because there are so many cooks in the kitchen that come in, like, this writer's going to do this episode, this writer's going to do the next episode. Every episode has to have a different director, so you're always going to get something a little bit different. It's going to feel different. You're going to have a different aesthetic. Maybe one writer doesn't agree with another writer. It happens all the time. The MCU and Star Wars is littered with that right now.
But with Doctor Who, what they did is they would have, when one doctor would come in, they'd have one writer for that doctor.
I think that might be one of the reasons why I love dramas so much, is you usually have like one consistent vision or voice. Like Breaking Bad, it was Vince Gilligan who did everything. And if you ran something by him that he did not like, he would send you away and redo it and do something else, or he would just fill in for himself. The first season of True Detective, Nick Pizzolatto spent 5 years writing that season, and it's probably one of the better singular seasons of television I've ever seen in my life. Like, when you do things,
5 years to write it.
He spent 5 years on that first season, and it was one writer and one director through the entire first season, and it shows because it is genius. There is almost literally no plot holes in that thing. And there are other shows that have done that as well. Sopranos did it brilliantly. The Wire did it brilliantly. Lost, not so much. Absolutely not.
See,
but
when you're doing shows like that, when you're doing like dramas and stuff like that, or those episodes, having one director or one writer makes sense. When you're doing,
I think sci-fi would benefit from that, though, especially
100%.
if you're doing something like time travel. You need to have one singular vision. That way, it doesn't get bogged down by somebody else's idea.
Exactly. Sitcoms you can do that with.
Absolutely.
Because you can just go all over the place. As long as you keep the underlying theme, then you're good to go. And mostly sitcoms, the underlying theme is, we start at the age of 20, we're going to end at the age of 30, and we're just going to watch them grow up. Or start at the age of 12 and end at the age of 18. That's the majority of sitcoms.
And here's the thing. And here's the thing. Why? I was just about to bring that up. Why is Seinfeld considered the greatest sitcom of all time? Because Larry David did everything. That's why. Period. Like, it shows. It shows in a lot of things like that. I don't know. I advocate for that. If you're going to be the person that's going to advocate for longer seasons, I will be the person to advocate for one vision. Just one.
I'm on board with
one vision, not so many cooks in the kitchen that things get bogged down.
Yeah. I think you could pay people better if you want the director's strike and the writer to have.
True.
You can pay people better because now, hey, I'm doing an entire, even if it's 6 episodes like this, I'm doing the entire 6 episodes. I know the front, the mid, I know the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Yes.
I know, and they need to have the ending in mind first. And what I feel like, and when they did the first 23 movies of the MCU, they had the end game in mind from the beginning of Iron Man.
Well, it's not even that. It's like, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby had that planned out decades before the first Iron Man movie. So they had their outline. All they had to do was pick up the comic book and say, we're doing this. That's literally all they had to do.
And
it's not hard.
And that's what they. So this is the same thing that happened with Apple when Steve Jobs passed away. Apple went way off from where they used to go.
Well, that's twice. They fired him 90 whatever, and they had to bring him back.
Because and with MCU, when Stan passes away and Disney takes it over, done.
Yeah.
I mean, because Stan passed away right before Endgame came out.
Yeah, I think the last thing he was actually.
Well, he was just a consultant. He wasn't like writing anything for.
Right. No, but I mean, he was always a cameo, and he was a consultant to the point of, does this add up to your standards?
Yeah.
And if he said no, it was out. Now they don't have that anymore.
I kind of feel like there's a few things in those original movies that are like, that's iffy.
Yeah, but a few things versus every single thing we're watching.
You're right.
You're right. I'll take it.
You're right. You're right.
And I just watched Amazing Spider-Man again, and when he's in the library,
oh, that's the best part.
And the fight scenes happen with his headphones on.
That's my favorite.
My
favorite of his.
You would still
cameo.
know something. Like when there's we're in the studio. When there's a noise out there, we still
go. Oh.
I still hear it. How he couldn't hear that, it blows my mind.
Well, that's what makes it good. Actually, no, I take that back. I'd say my two favorite cameos from him. There's that one, and then Excelsior in Age of Ultron when he gets drunk off the Asgardian liquor.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't know if I said this to you, Will, but the Amazing Spider-Man, the first movie, I just watched. Like I said, I just watched it again. I actually really enjoyed that movie. The second one, junk.
Oh yeah.
The second one was junk, but the first one,
revisiting the first one's not bad. I did it recently. I didn't finish it, but I went back into it, and I'm like, yes.
No, not at all.
I'm all set.
No.
I'm all set.
No.
I don't think I'll be going back to watch either one of those movies anytime soon.
The first one,
but I think we can all. I think we can all agree on that. And to your point, even if they're not gonna I think they could pay people better. I would personally you throw a chunk of money at one person and say, come up with the outline, beginning, middle, and end. And then for the rest of this thing, you can be a consultant and we'll run everything by. Even if you want to do that, if you don't want to throw all that money at one writer or load up one writer's plate, that's fine. But at least you need to have, I think you need to have one vision. And I think sci-fi would greatly benefit from that, especially now. Now.
And Kevin Feige used to be that one vision outside of Stan Lee for MCU.
He's completely I think he's completely cashed out. Yeah, he's completely cashed out. He's made his billions. He's done. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna see him at the helm of everything the way that he was for all those years again. I think he'll go back into just producing, and that's maybe. And if that's the case, hey, find somebody new. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Give the kingdom to Kevin Smith. Let him do it. Who else out there knows as much about comics as he does? There's not many people
still alive. Yeah.
There's not many people that has his knowledge of comic book lore that's still alive that would actually be able to sit down and be like, no, this happened, and be able to call it. Yeah, sure. Kevin Smith. There you go.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, he was involved in Superman Lives,
yeah.
Which saw the light of day for 30 seconds in The Flash.
Yeah.
Which I was with my friends this past weekend, and they're like, "Did you see?" And he goes, "Did you see The Flash?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Did you see Nicolas Cage as Superman?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What was that?" I'm like, that was back in the 90s. It was an actual story that was written called Superman Lives, and it never saw the light of day. And since he was in this whole realm of different, time streams, they had to show that. And I'm
the chronosphere.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah.
But
anywho.
We're
all
done.
right. Well, we will pick back up next week when we talk about the final episode of the second season of Loki.
Yeah, I do want to start something. Going forward, I do want to share with everybody where they can find us.
Oh, where can they find us?
So they can find us on Facebook at Black and White Reviews.
Oh, yeah, they can do that.
And they can find us on Instagram and YouTube at Black and White Reviews 1866.
1866. Good year.
It was.
Good year.
Yeah.
I had some good times back then.
Oh, did you?
You remember?
Of course.
Yeah.
So, follow us, listen to the podcast, like our stuff, share our content, give us comments. I did tell the guys that, we had one of our first requests. I got a text through Messenger on Facebook asking questions, and I was like, ooh, I like this.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're asking where Titans is.
Hey,
I'm not kidding. That's literally the question. What's going on?
Hey,
it's something.
It's a show that I enjoy right now. So
it's something
far more than most of what Disney.
They'll be coming. Don't worry, the Titans episodes will be coming. I'm lazy.
They'll be coming soon.
They'll be coming around the mountain.
All right, everybody, have a great one.
See you later.
Bye-bye, people.